What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at Great League battles submitted to this channel by Toenail Sauce. Yeah, you heard me right. His name is Toenail Sauce, but he's actually got some sauce. He reached, well, this is what he said, right? He said he reached Legend for the first time, and he built this team around Shadow DUSKNOIR. He's got a Wigglytuff lead, and then he's got a Furret safe swap with a Shadow DUSKNOIR in the back, and that's because he just explains that Wiggly covers DUSKNOIR's weaknesses, and that is 100% true, right? I mean, DUSKNOIR is only weak to two things. It's weak to Dark, it's weak to Ghost, and Wiggly resists both of those. So really great core there. And then Furret can be used as a safe swap to potentially lure out those Dark types that Shadow DUSKNOIR doesn't want to see. I think backline's pretty weak to Dark, so I tend to swap out of neutral leads to potentially lure out Dark types. So he is playing it like an AVB style, which is what you want to do with a team like this. Despite its neutrality to flying, this team is kind of weak to acrobatics, jump fluff. I think that's just because jump fluff is really spammy. It has bait potential, it's bulky, and it does hit pretty hard. But I think it's manageable with this team. Obviously, Furret doesn't have a great matchup there, but Wiggly is neutral, DUSKNOIR is neutral. If you really found trouble with it, you could always run Dusclops instead, because you're not really running DUSKNOIR in your safe swap position, so you don't need that fighting type coverage, but it is nice to have. And then he goes on to say that in the 2 consecutive sets I uploaded, I went 8-2, and then after the first set, I reached Legend. So we've got a Legend run here, and then the set following. So without further ado, let's hop into some battles. Let's see what you got, Toenail Sauce. Decent lead in the first match. Let's see if they're on Powder Snow or they're on Charm. They are on Powder Snow. So this is a neutral matchup. I don't think there's any point in shielding here because you aren't going to go for the Icy Wind anyways. And it looks like you're going to take a Weather Ball and then safe swap into your Furret, which I do like. You did say that you were going to stick to a game plan of trying to lure out a Dark type, and unfortunately you don't. You lure out a fighter, but that's okay because you can just come in with Wiggly and either sacrifice it if it's a close combat, or just take the charge move if it's a Rage Fist or like an Ice Punch. You can survive. It is the Ice Punch, leaves you on 1 HP. But you have lured out the fighter, and now you have a charge move. The opponent does throw because they know you have a charge move, which is nice. Yeah, you just let this go. You completely sacrifice the Wiggly, and you go 2 shield Astonish DUSKNOIR. I like this play. Definitely shield this up, and that's exactly what you're going to do. Here comes 1 charge move. Now it depends on what they have in the bag, and it's a double fighter line with Medi in the back. So this is exactly where you want to see it. Unfortunately, this season Medi is on Psycho Cut. So it's going to charge these fast moves really fast. You have to live 1. They're going to get to 2. But shielding the first doesn't really matter. They're going to get to 2 here, especially if you go for proper timing, and you do. At this point, though, they are energy dry. And if you want to come out with back-to-back moves loaded, which you kind of need for this Ninetales, yeah, just go for the full farm down. That's exactly what you're going to do. You're basically at 3 moves here, so just clicking the move. They're basically energy dry here because they had to throw their energy. The opponent knows this, that you're at back-to-back, so they just let that go. Great first match. Oh, fantastic lead in the next match. Wiggly into Malamar. They safe switch into a Blastoise, and you're going to come in with your Furret. Furret obviously doesn't resist Hydro Cannon here or the Skull Bash, but they do just go for the Hydro Cannon. But you do have super effective Trailblaze, which also boosts your Sucker Punch, which is nice. You do grab a shield in this matchup, but now you have to make a decision. Oh, never mind, they're not going to throw their energy. They were going to be at back-to-back Hydros, but they overfarmed too much, and now I think you just let this go. You've grabbed 2 shields from your opponent. Ooh, you're going to shield back because now you're going to have to double shield, right? You will be able to get to a Swift if you double shield, but I guess deciding you need switch, and I think 2 shields with Shadow DUSKNOIR against Malamar would have been fine because just Astonish plus Shadow Punches would have been enough. But you opted to just maintain switch. You know they can only go for superpowers against Wiggly, and then I guess you're reading something weak to DUSKNOIR in the back. Although, I mean, I guess if you're reading Tinkaton in the back, then it kind of makes sense, but I think you could have just 2-shielded DUSKNOIR and beat that core. But I guess we'll see. So it is the superpower that lands, and no, it's a Diggersby in the back. So unfortunately, your team read was unsuccessful. You try and catch it looked like a Scorching Sands onto your DUSKNOIR, or maybe just a fire punch and you're unsuccessful, they land the Scorching Sands, and unfortunately they do get an attack debuff, which is unfortunate because Dynamic Punch wouldn't have KO'd, but now it's definitely not going to. And the opponent's over farming, knowing that this can only be a double resisted Shadow Punch, so I'm not sure about this. Maybe you're just trying to chip to get it into charm range. Let's see, Scorching Sands does connect, it does pick up the knockout. I'm assuming they're already at a charge move. They actually make a really nice catch onto their Malamar. However, that does mean they can't make it to another superpower. I'm not sure if they would have made it there. And it just depends. Can you live a Scorching Sands from this range? And you can. Those rank 1 IV Wigglytuff coming in clutch, and you are able to take that win. Neutral lead in the next match, but somewhat negative. I think Carbink is a little bit tricky for this team. You're lucky that they swapped out of a otherwise good matchup. What your opponent should have done there is stayed in to take those resisted sucker punches, and then right as you got to the Trailblaze, trying to catch that on the Dragonair, because you'd want to boost your attack right away. But you do lure out the Dragonair with your safe switch, and they do not stay in, which is nice. You're able to grab both shields from the opponent, and if you want switch, you can take it here. So it's kind of just up to you. You're going to decide to give this up, and you're going to go for energy on your Shadow Dusknoir. So let's see what the opponent wants to do. Are they going to come in with the Carbink, or are they going to show their third? They're going to show their third, come in with a Shadow Dusknoir of their own, only to be taken out by a Shadow Punch, I imagine. Yeah, that's super effective damage. It KOs, and now they're going to run with Carbink. No, they're not. They're going to just resign the match. I think your opponent had play in that endgame with a Carbink against a Wiggly and a Shadow Dusknoir, but I guess they didn't think so, so they just resigned the match. Into the next match, picking up a great lead, Wigglytuff into Golisopod, and the opponent safe switches into a Diggersby at the same time that you safe switch. I think you want to play out that matchup in the lead, because you definitely do want to eventually potentially lure out a dark type in the back with this team, but there's never a situation where you switch out of a good matchup with a team like this. So either way, Diggersby onto the Furret. This is a pretty neutral matchup. You do have super effective Trailblazes, and you do pace the Trailblazes the same that they pace to the Scorching Sands pretty much for the first two, and then same with Swift and Fire Punch. And this is a pretty decent matchup too, because you can just force shields. They do win CMP, but Sucker Punches is neutral, whereas Shadow Claw is resistant, so they're forced to throw energy. Now you can come back in with the Wiggly. You can take any one charge move here, and I would, because you want to save that shield for the Shadow Dusknoir in the back. And you know one charge move doesn't KO, and it's a Marowak in the back. So I like this, staying in. They're one turn behind, it looked like, which they shouldn't have been because they threw a charge move, but no, I guess it was CMP tie, so that makes sense. You just definitely let this go. They've wasted this energy. You debuffed their attack. I think you overfarm here. Oh, you did get one turn lag, which is a little bit unfortunate, but they are on the 4 cycle now, so you can farm up 3 more Astonishes and be in a very comfortable position. That's exactly what you're going to do. So very perfect playing here, perfect counting, going for the Shadow Punch. That picks up the knockout, and now all you have to do is get to 1 Shadow Punch, and you're only 1 Astonish away because you're on the 3 cycle, and you are able to pick up that KO. Forgot to edit that one out, I guess. That's okay. We're just going to wait for this queue. I'm also noticing I screwed up the count. So if I remember to do this, I will actually edit that out afterwards, because the counts on the Astonish to Shadow Punch and Dynamic Punch are not correct at the time I'm recording, but I can go back in and edit that after. Oh, looks like you found your mirror, but they are leading Annihilate, and you've got a Wiggly, so this is a great matchup for you. They safe switch into a Wiggly. You definitely stay in and go for the Swift because they're 1 turn behind, and this ensures that they will always be 1 turn behind. And now that you've connected and grabbed that shield, coming in with your Furret, this could be an icy win, but you can very comfortably live this. But the only problem here is that Sucker Punches are resisted, and 1 charge move isn't enough to KO. I'm not sure about going for Trailblaze here. Yes, you're buffing your attack back up, but it's not going to be enough to KO, whereas Stab Swift might have been the play to go, which does force you to throw a charge move here. And your opponent can't really flip switch, so they are just going to let that go for farm on their Annihilate, which they get. And now it's about what you want to come in with here, because you can come in with either one, because you're going to end up shielding. They end up having a Bastiodon in the back, which is great because you have double super effective dynamic punch. I think the only thing your opponent can do here is try and call bait. So let's see what they do. That is what they do. They no shield, and upon no shielding, they just resign the match because you didn't bait. You had 2 shields, and that is a 5-0, a beautiful 5-0. Able to claim that set into Legend. Which is fantastic. And now going for your next 5 matches, going for that Pikachu Libre, picking up a bit of a difficult lead, safe switching into a Furret. Now, it's a bit of an awkward matchup because you know a Jumpluff is not going to have any darks in the back, or usually won't have any darks in the back. However, safe switching in like a neutral matchup when you have Icy Wind, I'm not sure about that. However, the one thing that is good about that is that if you are able to flip this matchup, you can put your DUSKNOIR, I guess, on it, which isn't a great matchup anyways. You don't really want to go down shields here, and you can't really farm down with your Wiggly against Clodsire. So this is a bit awkward. If it was something you could farm down here, then I would totally understand. They end up sniping with the Jumpluff, which is a nice play because you're going to lose all this energy. So you are going to end up shielding this up. Now you're down 2 shields. I think you're playing this matchup a little bit awkwardly. I think you just stay in that lead, play it out a little bit, then try and catch on Furret. So what you're going to do is bank that energy instead. You're going to take a really hard-hitting Acrobatics here. I'm not sure if it'll one-shot. It might put you really low. Yeah, it puts you deep in the red. You are able to click the move, get off this energy, but they're probably just going to shield back. And no, they're going to let that go. In comes the Clodsire, going for a Poison Sting farm down. They know that you've got a Wiggly on the lead, so they can just shield this up and get off a charge move. Nope, they're just going to sacrifice. What do I know? They've got a Blastoise with a shield. Yeah, this is going to be tricky, but I understand the play in that, like, if you were able to farm down their safe switch with Wiggly and then come out with an Icy Wind, that's double super effective and puts you in a really good position because then their charge moves are also debuffed. But switching out of a matchup when it's neutral for no reason just kind of doesn't make sense to me. I play out the matchup just a little bit and then safe switch into Furret, I guess is all I'm trying to say. Terrible lead in the next match going into your Furret. This is the right play. You have to go for 8 Sucker Punches here, and that's exactly what you're going to do because of one turn switch. For those of you who don't know, you want to throw on evens instead of odds, and your opponent is staying in this matchup. So I like this play. Commit the shield. You can boost your Sucker Punches up. You don't know what's in the back yet, and there's got to be a reason that they're staying in this matchup. Maybe they've got Corsola in the back, for example. They are double weak to fighting on the lead, and they would need an answer to that fighting, and what better than a ghost? So when you safe switch a Furret, suddenly they're in a tricky situation. They do end up letting that go, and they live that. So now you have a difficult decision to make. You are going to let this go. I think you barely will live this, and you do. So you get the Sucker Punch farm down, and there it is. There's your ghost in the back. So it wasn't a Corsola, but it was a Shadow DUSKNOIR, which is actually fantastic because you can align here. Oh, you're going for a dynamic punch catch here? That'd be crazy if you landed this. Oh, that is dirty. Yeah, your opponent after getting that catch is just going to resign the match. Very well played. That was a beautiful catch. Neutral lead, we've got mirror leads, and okay, so this is where you absolutely do not want to safe switch. Why don't you want to safe switch in a situation like this? The 2 Pokemon you have in the back are very weak to this, and the chances that your opponent is running darks in the back is also very unlikely because Tinkaton is everywhere, so they'd be instantly core broken. I mean, you're already core broken with this team against Tinkaton because Furret and Wiggly don't have a good matchup there. But safe switching into a Pokemon that has a negative matchup when you have a neutral matchup on the lead, and when your back Pokemon also has a negative matchup, doesn't make any sense to me because you're not going to lure out anything that you want to see, and you just have, now you're just playing out a negative matchup. Sure, you can go for a Trailblaze, boost your attack, and they come in with a Quagsire. I mean, you can't make this up. These are legend players, by the way, so, or near legend players. They end up committing shield. It's a nice bait by you. I mean, you could commit a shield just to grab a second shield, I think, but they will be on the 4 cycle here, so this does force you to throw the Swift, which means they should know this is a Swift, and they do, so they let that go, and at this point, you've landed the damage. You have to just let this go. coming in with your Wiggly. They're not going to get to another charge move, so that's nice. You get a little bit of a charm lead here. Are they going to come in with their final Pokemon? No, they're going to come in with the Wiggly of their own. They do have an energy advantage here, so they're going to connect with a charge move. It is the Icy Wind, and now it's Charms versus debuff Charms, and you will get the farm down, which means you can permanently debuff whatever's in the back, and it is an Annihilate, and you are lucky that you are ABA strong to this. Especially, why didn't they come in with Annihilate against your Furret, and then have Quagsire for your Dusknoir in the back? No idea, but able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got a Dugong on the lead. This is a situation where you bait out a Wiggly, so this is good actually. I would have once again played out the matchup a little bit first, but actually no, I think what you did is the right play, because you actually have two better answers in the back. You have a Trailblaze user and a Dynamic Punch user. So actually I lied. I think coming in with your safe swap right away is fine in this situation. And you were able to grab a shield from your opponent, able to grab 2 shields. They really want alignment, which is fine. Emma just posted 5 photos, so you have that to worry about after this. But here comes the Icy Wind. Your opponent is going to stay in, probably get another charge move off. Ooh, did you get 1 turn lag? What happened there? You shouldn't have. You were already in, so I'm not really sure what happened there. But now we're going to pivot. Maybe you purposely didn't throw to get an energy lead on Dusknoir. If that's the case, now we're thinking. Now we've got toenail sauce. And that actually allows you to get a huge energy lead, which is fantastic because they have a 0 shield Drifblim in the back. So that connects. Able to get the full farm down. Can you make it to a Dynamic Punch? It's going to be close, and you can on 1 HP. This is super effective damage. It's non-stab, but it's a Shadow Dusknoir. That connects. Now it's Charm versus Ice Shard, and you are able to take that win. Very well played. If that was an intentional play, that was sauce. Neutral lead in the next match, and you're save switching. I don't like this play. If you had Dusclops in the back, I wouldn't mind this play. Even so, like, you've got an Icy Wind user on the lead. I don't get it. I mean, if you can farm down whatever comes in the mid game here with your Furret, then sure. And you can, I mean, with your Wiggly, then sure, that's fine. What you need to do here is you need to force them to KO you with an electric Aura Wheel, so that way they're on dark. So you definitely let this go. You honestly hope it KOs so that you can come in with Wiggly, and it does, which is huge because now you can come in with Wiggly. The worst they can go for is a Psychic Fangs. Honestly, Resisted Dark Aura Wheel is probably worse. And they throw 1 in the move, and they do live that charm, which is fine. They're actually on Seed Bomb, so I lied. That isn't the worst they could go for. And then sniping with your Dusknoir, only to be met with a Drapion. Yes, that's a top left. But you are able to claim the set, go 3-2, get your Pikachu Libre, which is nice. What are the chances you get PvP IVs on this? It is Go Battle Week when you send me these battles, so let's take a look. Do you get PvP IVs? No, trash, unfortunate. But yeah, very well played. I think you played a lot of these matchups out correctly. Like, your fast move timing was perfect, your counting was perfect. I liked when you got energy leads and safe switch into your Pokemon in the back. I think all of those things resemble a Legend player, so you totally deserve it. The only thing I would say is don't switch out of a neutral matchup when your 2 Pokemon in the back also don't have great matchups, just because one, at Legend Elo, your opponent is going to recognize, okay, my opponent is playing an ABB style team, and they're trying to lure something out. So maybe that's why that opponent didn't send in their Annihilate on that, and they sent in a Quagsire instead, because they were reading an ABB style team, thought you had something like a Credillia in the back, and they wanted to line their Annihilate there. But unfortunately, they made the wrong read. You're double weak to like Dark in the back, which is a little bit less clear with a team like this. So there are ups and downs, but yeah, overall, very well played. Thank you for submitting battles. I hope this was useful. Looking forward to next season. Hope you guys all are as well. But that's going to be it for me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.